Hey everyone, it's Bobby from Decoding here, and in this video I'll show you how to create your very own collection of NFT artwork using Django, Pillow and Photoshop. So we will be cloning down from GitHub. So I've got a repository on my GitHub account, we'll be using that. We'll be using Photoshop to do the artwork, base layers and traits. Then we'll be configuring Django and finally testing and creating some artwork. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So this video is accompanied by a tutorial on my website, and my website is didcoding.com/tutorial/create NFTs using Django. What you've got on the screen here is that exact tutorial, and we'll be following along with this. By the end of it, you will know exactly what we're doing and you'll be able to hopefully use it in your own project. So starts off right at the top here saying or stating what an NFT actually is. I'm sure you've heard of what an NFT is, or you've heard the term NFT before. This is a very kind of top level description of what an NFT is. So it is a one-of-a-kind digital asset that belongs to just one person. So an NFT could be anything from artwork to collectibles through to things like deeds of a car and tickets to events, things like that, right? So very broad spectrum. But what is hot right now is collectibles. So you've seen these, you will have seen lots of these over the last few months or over the last year, especially in 2021. And it's this type of artwork here, right? So a company will produce thousands of pieces of artwork. They will mint them on a DLT, so a distributed ledger technology such as Ethereum or Hedera. And then the general public will buy those pieces of artwork, right? The value of the artwork is determined more or less by how rare that particular piece of artwork is. So one piece of artwork in a whole collection could be extraordinarily rare because certain traits only appear in a handful of pieces of artwork, and the combination of those traits make that very rare. Artwork that is not so rare will just have common traits, right? And that's what we'll be doing in this tutorial today. We'll be creating the artwork and actually calculating how rare each of the pieces of artwork actually are, and we'll be storing a database so we can tweak it. And so in a real world, in a production environment, you'd be saving these files, these pieces of artwork as PNGs or JPEGs in IPFS, which is the interplanetary file system, and we'll be minting them, creating the NFTs, like I said, on a DLT, such as Ethereum or Hedera. We've got links here, so visit their websites and have a good read up of what that actually means. We're not doing that in this tutorial. We're just creating the artwork and getting it all ready so you can then take it that next step further outside of this tutorial. Okay, so let's move on quickly. So we will be, in this tutorial, I'll be demonstrating how you can easily create your own artwork, and we will also be calculating the rarity of each collectible. If you don't want to read the tutorial, then click this and then it will be the video that I'm recording right now, but keep scrolling and it's got all of the bits and pieces that you need to get going. The whole project can be cloned down using the branch full code, and that will have everything that we're going to be doing today already in the code base, but we'll be cloning down from a different branch and we'll be actually tweaking and adding some code to make it all work. So Syllabus, like I said at the start, we'll be cloning down the repo, we'll be creating the artwork, configuring the project, and then we'll be testing, i.e. playing. So prerequisites, we'll be using Celery in this project because this is a tutorial and I'll be doing a demo, and what I don't want to do is create or run a job that is going to take an awful long time, i.e. creating hundreds and hundreds of NFTs in the request response part of a Django view. So instead, I'm just creating a task. Celery worker will be doing that, and it just means that this tutorial will be a lot quicker. That does, however, mean that you'll need to have a Linux server installed on your machine with Redis installed. Doesn't take too long to do, and there's a couple of videos. If you read the README file on GitHub, it will explain exactly what to do. It's nice and easy, doesn't take long at all. So setting the project up, we need to navigate to our development directory, create a new project directory, and then open up Visual Studio Code. So we'll go ahead and do that. I will be following along with this tutorial, but I'll try my hardest not to keep flicking backwards and forwards between screens because it can get frustrating. So my where is it? My development directory is here. Got demos. And if I click in here and just put CMD, that'll open up a CMD. And if I then put code, that'll open up Visual Studio Code in my other screen, just like that. Okay, and that's opened it up in my demo development directory. What we then need to do is we need to take these commands here. So we'll make a directory called NFT. We'll CD into that directory, and then we will open up Visual Studio Code. I've actually jumped a bit there. It's no problem. We will open this Visual Studio Code terminal. How's that look on the screen? Let's make that a little bit bigger. How's that? I always regret doing that when I'm doing these tutorials because although it's easier to read for you, it's more difficult for me. So we're in demos, so we'll make dir NFT and CD into that directory. So we'll do that. There we have it. And it then says to open up Visual Studio Code. We won't do that. We don't need to do that. We're already in it. We then need to clone down this. Open up, didn't need to do that. Let's open up bash, cd into NFT, and we'll clone down. I've got a passphrase on my SSH key, you probably won't have. But if we now open up NFT here, you can see that we've cloned down the entire project. So what's in the project? Close this, so it's a little bit easier. We've got the NFT directory. This is the main Django directory, the root directory, if you like. And within that, we've already got a celery.py. So I'll show you what I'm doing with that. The settings.py, the URLs, they're already configured. So we don't need to worry too much about that. In fact, I'll show you in the main directory, we've got an init file. We have got some code in there because that is for Celery. It just fires up Celery when the app is fired up. The Celery PY file. So this is basic Celery configuration. It's not part of the tutorial, but it's good that you understand that it's actually in there because we are using it. So I've got time zone Europe and London, which which matches exactly that in settings.py. But this essentially fires up Celery and it allows us to auto discover tasks. So we'll be creating a tasks.py file in the main app of this project. And we'll be using that task within that file to create the NFTs. So that's what that's doing. URLs. So we've got a few settings here because we are using static files in this project. So it allows us to use or access static files. We've got the admin page, which we will be using. That's straight out of the box from Django. And though that says picker, that should say NFT generator. Sorry, that's a hangover from the project I was playing around with earlier. It was called Picker, not NFT Generator. So what have we got in settings? If we scroll down here, we're using a .env file to house our secret sensitive information. So we will be using python.env, which is in the requirements. We'll be loading that up shortly. That's what this is. You wouldn't normally see this straight out of the box. Secret key, we'll be having the secret key in the .env file, so don't worry about all of this. All of these settings here essentially is just a way of loading up sensitive information from a .env file and configuring a database. This project that I will be using is using a PostgreSQL database, but it's configured that you can use any database really. If you don't put any settings in the .env file, it will default to SQLite 3. However, one of the fields in the model of the main application is a JSON field, and SQLite 3 doesn't like a JSON field. So you will have to use PostgreSQL or MySQL or MongoDB. Whatever the case may be, set those up and I'll go through that shortly. We've got installed apps. You can see here we've got NFT generator. We are using extensions and we're using Celery results. These are all of our Celery settings. Like I said, they're already set up. You don't need to do anything with them. You might need to change the time zone to something that you're, wherever you're working. Scroll down, we've got a little bit here again, time zone. Static files configuration. So I've added this in here because we're using static and media files in this project. And that is it. That's the main conf. That's already configured. We don't need to go through any of that. I've already started an app called NFT Generator. We've got a static directory, and it's already got some artwork. That's what's all in all of these. We've got base, we've got bling, and so on and so forth. But we'll go on and talk about those in a few moments. We've got a CSS file and a main JPEG file, which is part of the index, HTML index. What else have we got? We've got the README file, the requirements, and then we've got the NFT generator. So this is the main app. I've already set up the templates directory, so the HTML is already built. We don't need to do anything there, but we've got a base HTML. We've got an index page, so this is the home page when we load up localhost. We've then got, excuse me, got an NFT generator. That's just a form that we'll be using to generate X amount of NFTs as part of a collection. We've got an NFT, which is a detail view, and we've got NFTs, which is a list view. And that will show the NFTs once they've been generated. What else have we got? So let's start with models. It's important I walk you through this bit actually. So I'll spend a little bit of time doing this before we actually jump straight back into the tutorial. So this is our models page. You can see we're importing Pill or Pillow. We will be installing that using pip shortly, but again, let's not jump too far forward. We're creating a model, which is a database table. It's a timestamped model, which will log the date in which it was created or date time when it was created and also updated if we ever want to update it. And then, so it inherits from the timestamp model, and then we've got models.model. Just making sure you can see everything. We've got a name field, which is a char field, image field, which is, this is why we're using Pillow. Then we've got a slug field, which generates the slug and a unique URL for the detail view. And then we've got NFT attributes. This is a JSON field, okay? So it defaults to a dict. We'll be creating a dictionary or a JSON that goes into this field, and this will house all of the traits of each and every NFT that we create. Okay, we've got a dunder string, which is the string representation of the model. We've got the get absolute URL. We need this because we are using a detail view. So /NFT/slug. And the slug in this instance is a slugified version of the name, but we'll be doing that shortly. We've got this little method here called all NFTs, which is basically just doing a count of all of the objects in a database. And then we are creating a bunch of properties. So these are calculated fields in the instance. So what this does, we'll just look at one or two of them. So this is base rarity. So each of the NFTs that we'll be creating are made up of different layers of images, right? So you've got a base, which is, in this case, is just a color. And then we've got the body of the person we'll be creating. I haven't actually shown you an image, but this will all make sense in a second. So it'll be the body of the person, then it'll be hair, then we'll be putting an item of clothing on them. So it'll be a top, then it'll be trousers, and then we'll be adding props and bling, right? So what this property is doing, it is calculating how rare the base is compared to all the other NFTs that are in the collection. So this particular NFT might be using a base color of red. Now it will look at all of the other NFTs and it will work out how many of those NFTs have also got a red base. And then it divides that by the total number of NFTs. So if there's 1,000 NFTs and 100 of them have got the base color red, and this particular one has red, then the rarity would be 10%. Okay, what we want is low numbers. The lower the rarity percentage, the more valuable that NFT will be. Okay, we're doing the same for body. We've got body, base rarity, body rarity. This one here, that shouldn't actually be there. That doesn't need to be there. That's a copy and paste error. So we've got base, we've got body, we've got hair. Then we've got pants, we've got top. Then we've got prop and we've got bling. Just make sure we haven't got those. So so we've got different layers. So that's, you can imagine, you add all those layers up and you've got a picture or an NFT that we're going to be using. Then we've got overall rarity. So it looks at all of those different traits, calculates the rarity, and then it divides that. We've got 7 different traits. So the idea of this is, regardless of how rare an item is or how not so rare an item is, it calculates the total rarity against all other NFTs. And that's the key number. So if we can get that, if we can get an NFT in our possession that has a really, really low percentage, that's going to be worth more than one with a higher percentage. Hope that makes sense. So that's the models. Let's save that. And we've then got a form. This is just a basic form that takes a quantity. So we can mint 10, 15, 400, 1000 NFTs in any one go. We'll be passing through an integer into the form, and that will be handled in a form view in our view. So we go to views. These are our views. So we're bringing in generic, we're bringing in from models, non-fungible token, which is what we just showed you. From task, we're bringing in create NFT. We haven't done that yet. And from forms, bringing in the form. So we've got home view. See, these will say picker. If I just change these to NFT. Reason it says picker. I selected picker or chose picker and then realized it was a really crappy name. So let's change that. So, right, okay, so we've got NFT generator view. So this is what's used to generate the NFTs. So you stipulate the class. This is a form view. So you say what form class it's going to be, which is the NFT form. This is the template we'll be using and the success URL. So when the form is submitted, if the form is valid, then it's processed and then you're redirected. And we'll be redirected to a list view called NFTs. Form valid, so we get the quantity from the clean data of the form, and then we pass that through to create NFT, which is a function, or should I say a task, which we haven't created yet. And I'll show you what that is. The key here is delay, actually. So this is a celery task, and by having delay, it kind of throws it to a worker, and it's handled outside of the normal request response of the view. And then we return super form valid. Okay, next we've got a detail view. This is a view that will show all of the traits and the rarity of any one particular NFT. And we access that view from the list view. Okay, so this is a generic list view called NFTs views. The template is NFTs, model, non-fungible token, pagination by 50. You can change that to whatever you like. The only thing to note really is I'm using get query set. So I'm overriding the generic get query set method because I want to display the NFTs in order of their rarity. Because I'm using calculated fields in the model, I can't add those to a normal query set because it's pure Python. It's nothing to do with the database. So those rarity percentages won't actually be in the database. So I need to pull all of the objects and sort it using sorted, so a pure Python sort using Lambda, and I'm sorting it based on the overall rarity. So what we see in the list view will be the most rarest first and the least rarest last. Okay, they're the views. URLs, so they're the URLs we're referring to in the views. And then we've got, that's it, and we've got an admin page. So we're actually registering this, so when we log into the built-in admin page, we'll be able to see all of this information, okay? We can't sort on it because it's a property, but we'll still be able to see it. So that's what we've got. We've got from picker, we don't want that. We want NFT generator. I'll get all of this updated in GitHub shortly from NFT. I could just put from .models, right? As picker, what have we got here? Sorry, let's just change this quickly. From models, import. Don't need all of that. I think that'll work. Let's have a look. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, app. NFT generator. Save that. Forms, models, tasks, tests, URLs. Right. Okay, so let's jump back to the tutorial and see where we are. So we've got to this point. So we haven't gone very far down in the tutorial because I've actually skipped through and just walked you through the project, which is quite important. But let's create some artwork. If I show you the directory just in here, you can see in the static, we've got a whole bunch of these, right? So we've got base images. Okay, so we've got green, red, blue, yellow-ish. And then we've got body. So this is layer 2. You can't really see them, but I'll show you them in a second in Photoshop. So you've already got artwork. And how I created them is I used Photoshop. So I open up the tutorial again. It says here to open up Photoshop and a new file in 20 by 20 pixels. So this is Photoshop, open up new, width 20, height 20, create. Now, if you press Control+, that'll make it nice and big. Okay, Then I won't keep flicking back, but what you need is a pencil. Just pencil, put that on 1 pixel, it already is. And you can go about and you can just make any shape you like, it doesn't really matter. Let's just cut all of that in. What you then need to do is you need to select that using the magic wand. Click in there. And then if you click the vector mask, what that'll do, that'll essentially make it a PNG. But you need to export this as a PNG. Okay, we'll export that just in desktop. We can call it, I'll just call it 1. And then we will open that file back again. So this is now just a pure PNG file. So imagine this is the body layer of the image. So if we now select that again, I think you can press Shift F5, but if you go into Edit and click Fill, that'll give you the same option. It's gone on a different screen. Click Color and OK, and it will allow you to then select different color. Okay, so we'll go there, click OK, click OK. Now you can save that as number 2 or export that as PNG number 2. Right, that is essentially what I've done. Okay, so if I click open, I'll show you some of the artwork. If I go into development, demo, NFT, static, if I show you some of the bodies, open, zoom in. Okay, so that's the body image. You can see it's PNG. So with PNG, because the background is clear, if I lay this or paste this on top of a background which is colorful, then it will sit on top and the background will then replace all of this. If I then add another layer, which could be hair, so if I open, come out of here, go into hair, open up this one, just zoom in on that. Yeah, so that you can imagine sitting on top of this would then be its hair. We've then got top, we've got pants, we've got bling, we've got props, right? So we're just trying to make up a layered image and the final image will become the NFT, okay? So that's what I'm doing. What you'll need to do is create your own artwork. You don't need to for this project because you can just use the ones I've done, but essentially if you're going to do this and create your own NFTs, you can have them a hell of a lot better than the ones I'm now creating. These look quite amateurish, but we didn't need anything too fancy pants for this tutorial. Right, so that's the artwork done. In the project, we have got base, body, hair, top, pants, props, and bling in that order. That is the order in which they are layered to create an image. So the next part of the tutorial is the project setup. Okay, so already gone through the project as a whole. Now we need to navigate to the NFT generator utils.py and we need to paste in all of this. So copy, go into the project, NFT, sorry, you want utils, paste and save. And what this is doing, this is just a file that's allowing me to create dictionaries for each of the traits. So this is a create base dictionary and we'll be referring to these dictionaries in the task. So this is just a way of me structuring the images. So the key in this dictionary is 1. Okay, the value is green. So this all relates to the artwork. So this is base. So number 1 is green. So we go back in here and go into base. Number 1 is green. Number 2 is red. Number 3 is blue. Number 2 is red. Number 3 is blue. 3 is yellow, and so on and so forth. With the body, I've got tone 1, tone 2. Finding a few errors here. This is a lot of copy and pasting. That's why tone 2. Dungaree. We've got pants. We've got dungarees. Then we've got purple, blue, and black. Then we've got tops, we've got check, red, blue, and yellow. Then we've got dark purple, purple. And this is key, right? So if you want to really add some rarity in this project, one easy workaround without doing randomization of dictionaries and whatever else, what I've done is I've actually added a couple of images within these directories that are completely blank. So it's a PNG with no color or anything. And that way, is you can imagine this dictionary could be 10, 20 or 30 long. It could have so many different props. Now the more you have in there and the more blank images you have in that directory, it actually then makes the images that have something, in this case is a dark purple balloon or a purple balloon, that much more rare. Because if you're randomizing a figure between 1 and 10 and you're only picking number 1 every 20 or 30, you can imagine that that blue or purple or pink balloon becomes extremely rare. So that is just an easy workaround I found to make this work. Okay, so that's the utils. We now want to go into tasks. So scroll down on the tutorial and we want to copy. I'm interested to see when I fire this up if it works. And the only reason it won't work is because of the app name change, but we'll soon fix that if it doesn't. So you want to go into tasks and we want to paste all of this in. So save. So from .import utils, so we're bringing in all of these dictionaries. Go back into tasks. We've then got non-fungible token for models. We're importing pill. We haven't installed it yet because we haven't even got a virtual environment set up yet, but we will. And we've got settings from Django, the built-in settings model. Then we've got random int. We're using that to randomize the selection of a number. Then we're using IO, so bytes IO, because we're creating an image in Pillow. Then we need to save that image in memory as a file that Django can read, because otherwise you can't save it as an image field. So that's why we're using that. And this is why we're bringing in file from uploaded file. So we're converting the Pillow file into a file that Django can see, recognizes and understands. Then from Celery, we're doing all of this up here. This is just creating a task and a logger so that we can actually log the Celery worker results in a database. Not really necessary in all this sort of on this project, but it's very helpful. Function called randomize, so that randomizes a number between 1 and 4. Obviously, if you've got 10 in a dictionary, you need to change that figure to 10. So it's always going to select a number that is within the dictionary. And then we've got the task itself. Okay, so again, this is just Celery stuff, so don't worry too much about that. It's just making this task visible as a task. It's called create NFT. We're passing through quantity. This is the number of NFTs that we're creating. This is what's passed through from the form in the view. Okay. We then call all of our create dictionary functions from utils. So base dictionary is then available in this function. And then we do a for loop. So for NFT in range quantity. So if we've got 100, the integer 100, we do this 100 times. We create an empty dictionary called NFT attributes. Now this will be used for the JSON field in the model. Okay, so we won't go through all of these, but we're doing the same thing each time. So base key, randomize. So we're getting a number from the randomize function. We're then calling image from Pillow, and we open. We've got settings, we've got static root. So this is the static root settings that are in our settings.py file. So it's looking within the directory that's detailed in settings. It's trying to find a directory called base. And then it's trying to find an image called, in this case, it could be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4.png. So when we collect static, it will end up in static files and it will be looking for 1, 2, 3, 4. That's why I've called them integers. Okay. Go through, we're doing the same for body, hair, top, pants, prop, and bling. We're doing exactly the same, okay? And at the end, sorry, the last thing we're doing, we're then adding a key called body and the integer, or sorry, the value of what is being selected. So in this case, it would say red or blue or yellow. It wouldn't be the actual number. We're doing it for all of it. And then this is the funky bit. Okay, so we've got base image. And then what we're doing, we're pasting on top of that base image, the body, then the hair, the top, the pants, the prop, and the bling. It has to be in that order. Okay, so it starts with base. Then it's the body of the person. Then it's the hair. Then we put a top on it. We do top and then pants because one of the pants is a dungarees and it sits on top. And then we've got a prop and we've got bling. So bling is always the last thing that sits on there. So this is either a chain or bracelets. Create a new NFT object in a database with JSON attributes. So we're creating that object. We're adding the attributes and we're saving it. That's how we get a hold of the ID of the object. We resize the image. We're creating these images 20 by 20. We want to make these 300 by 300. An easy way of doing that in Pillow is to resize by 300, 300. Then you've got a keyword called resample, and it's equals image, which is a pillow method or class, dot nearest. And that will resize it, and it will keep its quality as well. Okay, so image IO, so we instantiate bytes IO. We resize the image.save, and we save it as image IO, and it's a PNG. We'll create a name string, a slug string, and then the file name. Okay, the image, this is how we convert the pillow image into a Django ready image. We use file, we pass through the bytes IO and the name. That's all you have to do. We save those to the fields, or the necessary fields in the model, and then we save. Keep doing that until let's say it's 100 NFTs, you do it 100 times. So we save that. That's all we've got to do. I've already gone through the forms, the models. We don't need to see any of that. We now need to keep following on with this tutorial. So we need to create an env file. So it says here you can use CP, but it depends on your operating system. So we want to essentially copy all of this. We want a new file in here. New file. This will be .env. Just paste that in if you like. We will, 1 second, let's save that. And if I just go in here and just look at my other details, because I've already saved most of my details here. Copy, paste, copy, paste all of that in. And you want to copy, paste. I can't remember if I've got SQL password in my system environment variables, but if not, I'm just going to pause the recording and add it. Okay, done. Okay, so I've now got env file in there. I won't open it again, but you can see from the template, you need to change all of the database, to use the password to host the port. Now, if you're using Postgres, then you'll have to put the correct Postgres details in there. Again, if you're using MySQL, it will be slightly different, but just add the correct bits and pieces. The SQL engine is important, and you'll be up and running as soon as you added the right correct stuff. But that's kind of outside of this tutorial, right? So that is the env file. We now need to fire up a virtually env. Now you can use these commands, which is straight out the box env from using Python, so virtual env or venv. But you can also use virtual env wrapper, which allows you to create a virtual environment and then use commands such as work on or deactivate. Now I am going to, I've already got a virtual environment set up. So it's called NFT. I'll just make sure I actually have before I say that. So if I go into envs, I've already got NFT set up in there, so I don't need to do that. I can just use work on, but if you haven't got one, then you can use these commands here, and that will set up a virtual environment and fire that virtual environment up. But I don't need to do that because I'm in here. If I go and new terminal, just put work on. If I call this NFT, it should, there you go. So I'm already up and running. Don't worry about that. So you need to pip install our requirements. You have to have the virtual environment up and running because it will be installing these requirements into the virtual environment. What you don't want to do is install these globally. Okay, so pip install our requirements. CD into NFT. There we go. Is that behind my head? It probably is. So that's where we are. If I now go bang, it should probably say it's already satisfied. Yeah, it's already satisfied because I've already installed it. But when you do it, it'll install all the necessary packages to get this project up and running. And if we, let me kill some of these. Look, we don't need all of these. Okay, work on NFT. Virtual env wrapper is fantastic. If you've never used it, then I would strongly advise using it. So we now need to migrate the database, or the model in this case, so it's non-fungible token to the database. So you do that with Python manage.py migrate. It's not liking that. NFT generator is not a valid py indicator. One sec, this is that name problem. So let me just fix that and I'll come back. Okay, so I sorted that. Yeah, it was just a name. So when I originally built this project, like I said at the start, I called the app Picker. I could have just kept it as Picker, but I thought that wasn't really named very well. So I thought I'd change it. I forgot to change some of it. I named it incorrectly. I put dashes instead of underscores, and the system didn't like it. So I've just changed all of that outside of this. When you go to GitHub, the repositories will be present and correct with the correct name, so you won't run into those issues. But lo and behold, I've now migrated everything over to the PostgreSQL database, which is great. And we now need to collect static. Let's see if this may or may not work, because it might look for a media directory that's not there. Let's have a look. No, it's not. Right, so it's because the git ignore says to not add the media. So if you just put media there, it will then go and work. Yes, happy days. That should now create a static files directory there. Okay, so that's now got all of the static files in there, which is good. Admin, yeah, everything I'd expect. So it should have the base. Yeah, right, it's got everything. That's it. All we now need to do is activate Redis server, a Celery worker, and a Django project for running. So we need to, if you look in the README file, it shows you, if you haven't got it, it shows you how to quickly install, let's say Ubuntu, and then install Redis. And then all you need to do is fire that all up for the Celery worker to work. So I will go ahead and do that now. We will need a new Ubuntu. So I'm using Ubuntu on this. And you need to put, when that's ready, you need to put, clear that. And you need to put Redis-server. If I can spell it correctly. There you go. Ready to accept connections. You then open up a fresh one. Because that's all now running, we can put redis.cli. We can test that by putting ping, and it should say park. There we go. So our Redis server is up and running. We open up a new one. Is it, or is it normal? No, it's a normal command prompt. So cd NFT, work on NFTs. You need your virtual environment up and running. Go back in the tutorial. We now need to fire up the worker with this command. Can you see that okay? Is it going to work? Yeah, so it's all working. Okay, so Celery desktop is ready. So that looks like that is ready to go. So we can go back into this one. And if we put Python manage.py run server, see if that will work. Looks like it is. Before we do, it's saying create super user. We'll better do that first. Crash out of that. And we put Python manage.py create super user. Probably can't see that behind my head. No, you can't. But it's Python manage.py create super user. The beauty of having a tutorial on my website is if is anything you can't read properly or I'm going too fast, then you just go to the tutorial and copy and paste, which is great. So username, we're just going to leave it as Bobby. Email doesn't really matter, but you need to dump in a password in here and then put it again. That will give you access to the admin page, the built-in admin page at Django. So when we visit localhost 8000/admin, you can actually access the back end, which we will do. So if you control click on there, that should open up a browser. There we have it. Right, okay, this is up and running. It's all good. This is what it looks like. Now, if we go admin, it'll ask me to sign in. We should do. If I put Bobby, put my password in there. There we go. Right, so we've got, because we're using the Celery settings that are in the project, it means that all of the Celery workers are actually being dumped in here. So all of the tasks will end up in here. So when I create an NFT, we'd expect to log whether it's a success or a failure. We then got the NFT generator. So this is the app that we've built. What's this going on here? Let's count. Does not exist. That's probably because I haven't created anything yet. That's not a problem. But anyway, when we go in there, that'll have all of the NFTs. It's not working because there's probably some calculated fields that are looking for stuff that's not there. That's what the bug is all about. Don't worry about that. that's the admin page. If we just go into normal localhost 8000, this is the page, right? This is my home page. That's the thumbnail of the video. Click view all. There isn't any in there currently. I could probably put some code in there so that we don't have any issues, but for now, we'll leave it as it is. Generate NFTs. Right, so is this just the form we put together? So how many NFTs would you like to generate? So if we put in here 100, yeah, and click generate, that should the error is because I did not make migrations. So what we need to go in here, I migrated all of the necessary tables for, let's say, auth and all of the tables of all of the dependencies or libraries that we've installed, but not for non-fungible token, which is the app that we've created. So if I go back into Python, just crash out of this, we go into Python manage.py make migrations. There we go. The reason there was an error is because it couldn't find a table. The table wasn't there because we didn't migrate it. There we go. Right, now if we can run server, let's see if that'll work. There we go, happy days. Right, so, and that's the worker. So it failed. And the reason it failed was probably because of that error there. So let's go and, there we go. We crash out of that, fire the worker up again. There we go. Now let's see if it will work. So yeah, this is the task. So you can see that we tried to create them. It wouldn't because it's in a task. There was a failure, there was a programming error. Lo and behold, it didn't work. So if we go back into generate NFTs, and let's go into, and we'll put 100 and generate, hopefully that will work. It's saying success. So if we update, there we go, happy days. So remember, I'm using a celery worker because I didn't want the request response problem. It would have been sitting there doing loading and anyway. And anyway, you can now see how to wire up celery if you've never done it before. So these are the NFTs that we've just created, right? So we've just created 100 of them. It's fired the task to the worker. The worker has then said, right, let's create 100 NFTs. And it's randomly generated a number with a randomizer. So let's say number 1, so selected background green. Is put skin tone, whatever tone that is, tone 1, 2, or 3. It's added multicolored hair. It's put a red top, grey trousers, and pink balloon. So it's actually got a prop. So this one is the rarest one out of all of them. So it's 22.71 is the rarity. If we go into the last one, oh, well, we've got an error on the images there. If we go into the last one, some of the last ones will be like 31%, 33.86. Imagine if we create 10,000 of them. And also we had dictionaries that contained a hell of a lot more images, then the rarity, everything would become a lot more scarce. Because we've only got 4, green is appearing normally, if it's random, 1 in every 4. So you wouldn't expect the rarity to be anywhere other than the area of 20 to 30 to 40%. Okay, but you can see it's actually generated some nice little NFTs there. They're nothing to write home about, but they look quite cool, right? So if we click into one of them, click view, it will then take you to the detail view. And this one is number 29, so it's just ID number 29. It's got rarity of 28.71, and then it goes through and it tells you the rarity of each trait. So the prop, again, if we had more blank tiles or blank images in the prop and the bling, then the rarity for the props and the bling would probably be 5, 6, 7%, in which case this one will become a hell of a lot more valuable. But this is just for demo purposes. Okay, so this is one of them, and if you go back, it will just show you, you've got another one here. This one's got a chain on, which is quite cool, 25%. What else have we got? We've got, oh wow, that one's pretty decent. I can't see any of them that have, and this is the difficulty of doing the randomization. So this one's got, actually no, this one has. So this one's got a bracelet and a prop, but because the blue is probably quite, occurs quite regularly, it's not as rare as it could be. So anyway, that is the project, right? So if we go back into the home, if we go back into the code, you can see that the workers work in there. If we go back into admin, you can see that the job was, or the task was a success. We go into non-fungible tokens here. There we go. So these are 100. We added 100. We put them in there. Do you know what? Let's go in there again and put generate. And let's put 500. So now we should have 600 of them, okay? So you can see that takes me straight through to this, and in the background it's going through and it's generating them. Okay, so if we just update, hopefully if it says success in the background, where are we? So it's saying success, so we've created them all now. And you say this one here, it's got the bracelets, it's got the rare prop. This is now 23%. So that's actually the most valuable NFT in this collection. And there's a collection of 600. Some of these companies are producing collections of 10,000. So it's important to be able to generate these artwork collections programmatically. You can probably do it without any code, but this is the way I've done it using Django. And I think it's quite helpful for anyone in the NFT space. So is there anything else I need to... No, I think I've covered everything. What's on the tutorial? So I do need to add here where it says migrate, I need to add Python manage.py make migrations, else it won't work. But other than that, it's all good, right? So we'll look at the admin, we'll look at the homepage. Conclusion, we have successfully built a Django app that allows us to create large quantities of NFT artwork programmatically, okay? And that's it. That's the end of this video. I had a lot of fun putting it together. I've wanted to do something like this for quite some time. I figured out how to do this just when I was toying around a few weeks ago. So I thought this would be a great topic to create a video about. I hope you've enjoyed it and I hope you found it useful. I will see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.